This is Raymond. I'm in Austin, Texas, and it is fig season. What do you do with the extra figs? Well, there's not a really perfect way to preserve them, but the best way is probably to dry them. I think that making a preserve, adding a whole bunch of sugar is not the most attractive or the desirable way. So drying figs using nature's sun is really the best way to go. The problem is that once figs start to come in, there's a bukus of them, there's an abundance of them, so we've got to do something with them. This is a fig. This is quite ripe. It's ready to eat. And boy, is it ever delicious. We're going to show you the next phase. I couldn't find a really good video on drying, so I'm going to show you a quick demonstration on how to effectively dry these figs. This is my drying rack. Yours could be different, but in essence, this is an idea, if you will. You have to cover everything up so that you can keep bugs and other types of vermin away from it. You could use a cheesecloth, you could use any type of a fabric that would allow air to flow through it, yet lets plenty of sun through it. This is called a frost cloth, used in the winter time to keep vegetables growing in cooler type of climates. But it's effective. It's kind of a polyspun type of material. It's thin and light, lets plenty of sunlight through it. Let's take a look at this rack. Well, we've got a multi-tiered rack. There we go. These figs are put on yesterday. They're still drying. It takes about maybe about 3 days to effectively dry. These are nothing more than window screens that are cut to shape. This is a PEX pipe that's been curved and turned. And if you look over here, a little detail, you can see that what I've done is I've actually expanded this PEX and I've made a coupling out of it so I could connect it and put the two pieces together without having to buy anything else. Let's go ahead and cut the figs and get it prepared. Okay, let's wash these figs. Squirrels, birds also like them, so we don't know what type of vermin or what type of bugs may be on these things, but I think it's always a good idea to wash them. So let's quickly wash them. We are now at the cutting station. Do know that a fresh fig that's mature will not last very long. It does not last very long in the open air. It does not last very long in the fridge, maybe 2 days. After a couple days, they start getting moldy, even in the fridge. So really and truly, drying is about the best way to preserve figs. If you've got a number of fig trees, you're going to have so many figs, it's impossible to eat them. So it is the recommended ways to go ahead and cut them and prepare them for drying. So let's go ahead and do that. This is a fairly large fig, and I'm going to go ahead and not just cut it in half, but I'm going to quarter it. The intention is to make all of these figs about the same size. Now the stems are not very tasty, as you can imagine. Here's another large one. We're going to cut it. We're going to quarter it. Looking good. It's a lovely fig. Here's a much smaller fig. Got a little bit of a stem. We're going to cut it only in half, and notice that they're all about the same size. The intention is to get all the figs about the same size so they'll all have about the same drying time. Here's another one. To quarter it. We have finished cutting the figs. Notice that there's a lot of room around all the figs. Don't be surprised. Once you start cutting these figs into quarters or into halves, it's going to eat up a lot of space. So have plenty of room on the screen. You don't want the figs touching each other because they will develop mold. Right now in Texas, we have 90+ degree weather. Off of the pavement, it's probably 100 degrees. In that environment. These are a combination of brown turkey figs and Celeste figs. Right. The figs are been quartered. Let's put it in our drying rack. We're sliding it in. These are nice and fresh. Fits in pretty good. Nice little system. Now I'm going to put this top screen on because it's going to help to keep the cloth from touching the figs. You don't want the cloth to touch the figs. Here's cheesecloth type fabric. I'm using again a frost cloth. You can use whatever you need to use. Place it over the whole thing. The idea is to keep bugs and other vermin from finding interest in your figs. So keep it simple. Keep it covered. And let nature do its work. Okay, so right now we're in Texas and we've got about 95-degree temperature outside. Off of this asphalt it's probably over 100 degrees, and this temperature takes about 3 days for the figs to fully dry out. This is an example of what the figs look like when they're dry. They're still kind of soft, they're chewy, and then I'm going to tell you, they are good. They're excellent with cereal and dried fruit, but we're going to leave these figs out here. Again, it takes about 3 days for them to fully dry out. At the end of the day, make sure that you bring the figs inside, because the night creatures are going to find these figs as delicious as you are.